You may be forgiven for thinking this is Clumber. It's not Clumber. I've come further east today, to north east Nottinghamshire. This is Retford Cemetery, and it's a fabulous cemetery in parts. There's a really good old section, some fabulous conifers reminiscent of Mansfield Cemetery. So we're going to have a wander around here, see what we can find. This is a really good cemetery. There's some fabulous trees here, some particularly large and old conifers, especially in the older part of the cemetery at the eastern end. And there are some good invertebrates to be found. The thing about cemeteries, you never know what you're going to find. There'll certainly be juniper shield bug here in abundance, and box bug is here. But conifers attract a range of species because they make ideal wintering sites, especially Lawson cypress, like the golden ones over there. And you've got these sycamores, and this place is full of harlequins, harlequin ladybirds. But there's also a rare micro moth, one of the case bearers, one of the Dolichas, and it's Dolicha tricotrella. And I found numerous cases of these last year, and we'll see if we can find you one or two. And here is the case of Dolicha tricotrella. 3 Dolichas in Nottinghamshire, and this is the largest of the cases. The other 2 species, Dolicha lycanella and Dolicha inconspicuella, make slightly smaller cases than this. And Dolicha tricotrella is usually found in good numbers, and sites for it include a road bridge just off Valley Road at the City Hospital in Nottingham. It's also appeared at Warsop Cemetery, appeared there last year in enormous numbers. And here on the older gravestones, under some sycamores, a line of sycamores at Retford Cemetery, it's also present in good numbers. But it's not the only cycid moth that is here, because here's another species. Species I might have shown you before earlier in the year, but this is Nottinghamshire's commonest cycid moth, and this is quite a surprise to find this here. But this is the larval case of Psyche castor, and judging by the size of this case, it was female when the moth emerged earlier in the year. And Psychidae moths, many species have flightless females, and some have parthenogenic females, which means that they're self-fertile and don't require a male. And indeed, in several species, males aren't known at all. And they're an interesting family of moths. Dennis himself studied and mapped the distribution of these moths in Nottinghamshire for a number of years, and well, it's something that I'm still doing. It's something that can be done during the winter months very easily. So there's 2 nice species from a cemetery in Retford. nice bit of autumn sun. It might be short-lived. Showery conditions today. We've not had one locally yet. Nice when the sun comes out though. It does give it a bit of warmth. But I think for the most part today everything's going to remain sort of tucked up and out of the way, somewhere sheltered. We shall see. This old part of the cemetery is really good. It's well worth coming and just having a mosey round to see what you can find. Just having a look on some Norway maple. It's here. It's the odd sycamore in with them. And there's a couple of leaf mines, a couple of stigmella mines that I need to check the ID on. Nice bit of sun now. And we'll carry on down that way and see whether this sun, now it's out a bit more, is starting to bring things out. Right. Got a few bits off these Norway maples. First one is a stigmella mine, and this is the mine of Stigmella aceris. The larva isn't in the mine, probably hasn't been out of it too long to be honest, and it's quite an easy mine. There's only a couple of stigmellas that mine Norway maple. And Stigmella aceris is one of them. It's a gallery mine, contorted gallery, and easy to identify this one because the larva produces copious amounts of green frass which fill the gallery. So only right at the very end where it becomes linear, where the frass is in a thin central line. So that's a nice record. Here we've got a Philonerichta, and this is a blotch mine, and this is just above my thumb here, look, and this is the blotch mine of Philonerichta johannesi. I'll turn it over. Another common miner, or increasingly common, and as far as I'm aware it's the only Philonerichta which mines Norway maple. So fairly easy to identify. And the last one we have here is a feeding sign basically, and this is the feeding sign of Caloptilia rufipanella. And it's this leaf cone, the way the leaf has been spun by the larva into this tight cone, and it usually makes 3 cones. It starts off normally on a large leaf with a triangular blotch mine near the centre, near the midrib, and then it'll produce 2 or 3 successive cones which get larger each time on the end of the leaf. So 3 relatively easy species to find just off one tree, even late in the year. There's still plenty to find out there. It may be a bit breezy, but it's pleasant enough. There's 2 main modes of transport with links to the cemetery, close links to the cemetery. This canal is one, which I'm presuming is the Chesterfield Canal, and the other you'll hear about every 10-15 minutes, and that's the railway, as the high-speed trains race through or to and from Retford Cemetery. Not a bad little view, is it, that, for a cemetery? It's a blustery late September day, but increasing amounts of blue sky, thankfully. And this really is a cracking cemetery. Cemeteries aren't morbid places, far from it. I suppose amongst all the death, there's plenty of life. It's what makes them such interesting places, and largely no one is visiting cemeteries and recording the wildlife there, which is a shame. In today's urban sprawl, cemeteries can provide a green oasis for wildlife and a vital lifeline. If you look at gravestones architecturally, then here's a good selection of architecture. They look quite magnificent, some of them, against a lovely background. I've just realised that there's some holm oaks there, which are evergreen oaks, just at the back of the cross in the foreground. I didn't see them when I came last year, because there is a leaf miner, well, there's a couple that leaf mine during the winter on holm oaks, so it's worth having a quick gleg while we're here. And this is evergreen oak, this is holm oak. They have a very thick, almost holly-like leaf, but these leaves are rough, unlike the smoothness of holly. And of course, being an oak, they do produce acorns. And being evergreen, they keep their leaves throughout the year. And there's two leaf miners of holm oak that have appeared in Nottinghamshire in the last couple of years. One is Ectodemia herringella, and the other one, if I remember right, is Stigmella subivora, both present in South Notts. There appears to be no sign on here, but I have just been photographing a shield bug, to which all intents and purposes appeared to be slow bug. You never get slow bug on trees. I never have. Counted thousands. And there is a very similar species. I should have kept the specimen rather than letting it go. And it was tucked away in the leaves where one leaf comes down onto another one. So that warrants further investigation, because that would be a first for Notts if it's a species that I think it might be. But these are really good trees, a popular overwintering site for both harlequin and seven-spot ladybirds, and they will overwinter actually in the empty sort of holders of the acorns. You'll often get two or three sort of tucked in amongst them, but there are some on here now, and usually where the leaves are clustered. So I need to investigate this tree a bit further. And here is a little cluster of 5 seven-spot ladybirds. There's also one just at the top of the screen, actually, just there. And there's numerous clusters of these in amongst these, and say they do, with the leaves being tough and present on the tree all winter, they do make an ideal overwintering site. And the scientific name for seven-spot ladybird is Coccinella septempunctata, of which you all knew anyway, didn't you? But often if you stare at these trees long enough and get in amongst the foliage and have a look around, and you'll find quite a few invertebrates. You never know what you're going to find. Now, back of this granite gravestone, there's a harvestman that I don't think I've shown you before. This is quite a well marked one, and this is a female Paralygolophus agrestis. And there is a male, but that's just out of shot. But the male isn't marked anywhere near as well as this particular female. Not a big harvestman, even with the legs little larger than a 10p piece. And that's a modern 10p piece, and not an old money one. And you don't very easily beaten off most trees and shrubs. You do spend a lot of time in the canopy, but you will find them in numbers in leaf litter and within grass tussocks. But it's a nice one, and it's a new record for here. That's Paralygolophus agrestis. No doubt you'll remember that. People definitely don't appreciate cemeteries. They're very much similar to your normal town park. I don't know of anyone, whether there must be somebody somewhere that visits cemeteries for the variety of trees. This cemetery at Retford and Mansfield Cemetery have some fine examples of many species. I'm saying it's the older parts, but they're beautiful settings. You don't have to think about it as being gloomy, full of dead people. They're nice places just to have a slow wander around and say there are some cracking trees. Just a bit early for autumn colour. Need another couple of weeks at least. But I'm going to walk up that way and see if we can find anything up there. Here's a now all too familiar sight in Britain's towns and suburbs, and even where this tree grows in a rural environment. Looks as though this tree is well ahead in its preparation for the winter, but it isn't. The tree has been forced into this state by a moth. This is, of course, a horse chestnut, and the moth in question is the horse chestnut leaf miner, a tiny moth with about a 9 to 10 millimetre wingspan at most, that causes huge damage. And the reason these leaves are brown on this tree is all due to the caterpillar of the horse chestnut leaf miner, and it's a species that has successive broods. It can have 3 broods very easily in every year. And we'll have a closer look at the damage they do. I'll show you on a small leaf where the damage is identifiable, and especially on this leaf here. All these elongated leaf lines between the leaf veins all hold a single caterpillar. And when you look, this is a small horse chestnut leaf, and when you look how many is just on those leaves, you can understand why trees become so affected become so affected that they get into this state. Look. These completely dry, crispy. Every single space on these leaves has been used by the caterpillars of the horse chestnut leaf miner, and it's the same throughout the tree. What can be done? Well, I featured of this species on a video before, and nothing can be done at all. And almost certainly this damage will lead to the death of many horse chestnuts. I think so. And it's a moth that first appeared in, I think it was Macedonia somewhere, a number of years ago, and romped through Europe and the UK. Did listen myself, found the first one for Nottinghamshire. Can't remember when it was. This is another species that we've surveyed across the county as much as possible, and you can safely say now that every horse chestnut tree in the county will be affected to some degree by this moth. And the tree, it doesn't refoliate, that's the problem. There's a bitter. See how these small leaves have appeared here, and they shouldn't appear till next year. So the tree and horse chestnuts in general, I think, are in big trouble, all from one small moth. Well, a collection of harlequins, young harlequin larvae, bottom right, a full-grown harlequin larva, top left, and a harlequin ladybird in the middle. There's lots of these around, and when it gets to this time of year, you'll have to get them on sunny spots as they start to look for somewhere to overwinter. And so, as I'm getting hungry, I'm ready for a bit of snap. And you know, I might have a drink to wash it down. Perhaps I'll have a baby sham today.